proven. They say we're ripping and shooting. The earth is spinning and moving.
Oh no, no, not at all.
It's a criminal enterprise where deception intensifies. Assholes got us all living life
on a cartoon ball.
It is Photoshop, but it has to be.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
They say that we went to the moon 6 times, but pure BS is the way that smelled. Now they're telling us that we can't even leave the planet because of the Van Allen radiation belt. Yeah, okay, sure. NASA, what you lying for? You lying now? You lied before. I can't take this anymore. The only thing they took to space was your imagination. Fake aliens are coming, now they have you waiting. We need to do something about it, no procrastination. Trying to cause the masses to awaken, that's the path I've taken. But you can see if you check all the percentages. So many people having cognitive dissonance. But that's what happens at the loss of your innocence. Then you get involved with all of this wickedness. They try to do all the humans this way. So are they just idiots? Who is to say? Conditioned by the television, it makes your decisions, opinions, and you just obey. Stuck in the material domain of Satan, where everything in each and every day is pagan. Mandela effect, cause the game is changing. People waking up and now the cage is shaking. The earth is flat, and that is a universal fact. If it isn't that, then tell me where the fuck the curve is at. They tell us that we can't see it because we're all too small. And now we're spinning on a cartoon ball. Horizon means horizontal. Indoctrination is awful because you're taught the globe model.
Ever since y'all could crawl,
we follow rapists and murderers, liars, thieves, and sun worshippers, saying we can't see curvature
cause we're all too small.
And though it's never been proven, they say we're ripping and shooting. The earth is spinning and moving.
Oh no, no, not at all.
It's a criminal enterprise where deception intensifies. Assholes got us all living life
on a cartoon ball.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison for your mind.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
Yo, this is T-Beats. It's Saturday night. I'm drinking, I'm smoking, and you know I'm listening to Ike Dog and the Mudfizzle Jam.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is ODD, and as promised, I'm here today with Jay Dreamers. Jay Dreamers is somebody who I've happened to actually meet in real life. We've hung out about 3 times, so I'm glad to have him on the show. His channel's really great. I recommend going and subscribing to his channel. He thinks outside the box, and he talks a lot about mythology things that, you know, this day and age we think is crazy and mostly fairy tales, but in all reality, we're having things from these ancient tales and these mythologies turn out to be facts, you know, from just an older time. So without further ado, here's Jay Dreamers. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you're all about, brother?
All right. Thanks. First, thanks for having me. It's pretty awesome to have anybody out there, you know, listen to our ideas and things that we think about. And
in all reality,
honestly, it's amazing to see the truth community come together in various ideas, just hearing one another out, just listening to the various ideas that we have about all the different amazing subjects that are out there, that there are to talk about. And that's one of the things that I started to realize as I continued to really put more time into my YouTube channel, is putting like the collective puzzle pieces of everything in life all together. Because ultimately I started to realize everything is connected. It might not be directly connected, but if it's all one giant puzzle picture that's been fractured, it's all connected, and it kind of falls to us to put those puzzle pieces back together in order to start seeing the bigger picture of the puzzle more clearly. You know, it's something, for me, it gives me motivation. You know, a lot of people would ask, why do you do this? Why do you look into it? You know, who cares? Who cares about all these different subjects? And my response, now more than ever, with more passion than I've ever had, has been, you know what? Putting all these different puzzle pieces together, picking up the breadcrumbs so that I can find my way home, has added so much more flavor to my life. And when I look at the world around me, when I interact and I experience this world, it's just so much more exciting now that I see so much more than I ever did. You know, things that I can think about and imagine. And, you know, I grew up basically knowing that the world was very boring. There's a lot of us who grew up and we were labeled as ADD, or, you know, it was hard for us to pay attention, or we had to, you know, be put into special classes for advanced kids who got bored quickly or whatnot. And that's really what it started to boil down to for me at a younger age, was that life was boring. I mean, the world is kind of boring. I mean, even with all the advancements that we've made in technology, and as advanced as we think we are, and as advanced as we tell ourselves that we are, the world is an extremely monotonous, boring, and mundane place to live. At least for me, you know, I look around, it's the same loops that people are in, it's the same structures. There's nothing very fantastic about it. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of beauty to be found in the world that we live in, and I feel like there's even more interest for me in life, even as fallen and messed up as the world is. You know, many people watching, a lot of us are in various conspiracy circles or open-minded circles or awakened circles, whatever you want to label it. But I think that we have a few things in common, and one of those is that we're starting to reignite that passion for life, and we're starting to see things in such a different way, and it's exciting. I mean, it really adds more fun to this existence. It adds meaning to the existence of life, you know? That's the reason why I look into various subjects. Sure. And I'm putting all these different puzzle pieces together because it makes it exciting for me to live where I am in the circumstances that I find myself in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, what I'm finding is it's the same. We're almost kept in this state of boringness, monotony. Everything's the same. And it's only getting worse to the point where, obviously, you know, I don't know how far along down the road, but if you would say 30, 50, 75 years, you know, when everybody's living in that one world order and you're issued the same clothing, the same food, the same this, the same that. But not only that, you know, nowadays, right now, we're kept from exploring the downright craziness, and I will say craziness, of our reality. After I was hit with the flat earth, I started realizing that anything could actually be possible. And when I go to look at the giants, I can find traces, or at least enough evidence there to support the fact that giants were a real thing. So I keep going and going, and I'm the same as you, brother. That's why my channel says Odd Reality, where sci-fi and fantasy merge with reality, because I believe a lot of the things we see in movies, TV shows, the fantasy and sci-fi stuff, it's becoming a reality when we all grew up thinking it was completely fiction. You know, this is why it's just a movie, bro. It's just a TV show. But no, here we are. And I watch your channel a lot to learn about giants, and I've actually subbed to other people because of you to learn more about these things as well. I have a slideshow running on the screen of pictures that you sent me, and there's all sorts of stuff, man. Is there anything that you would like to start off with?
Excuse me. Yes. Well, let's just run off of like the boringness of the world. It's not just boring and mundane in the physical sense, but all the things that we've been taught, which is exciting. You know, like whenever I started breaking free from mainstream thought and instruction and indoctrination, it allowed my mind to separate, you know, from those things in order to look into things like giants or titans or flat earth or elven beings or aliens, and what are these things? And we get to break free from the thought implants that have been forced upon us at a young age, you know. So for example, right, I started my little journey, like many of us have, in the religious world. And when I was reading through the Bible, I found so many interesting little nuggets that were briefly mentioned, but they were so profound and so strange to me. I had to find out what they were. For example, you know, like you brought up the giants. If we're talking about Genesis chapter 6, that's whenever, you know, we get into the flood story, like Noah and the great flood that happened or whatnot. At first, I didn't even know that story was told over and over from civilization to civilization all throughout time. And so that, for me, those were various puzzle pieces that were very similar, and I could start putting them together in order to make a bigger picture, to make more sense out of it. But for example, you know, I started off asking a lot of people, like pastors and preachers and all these people in the religious field, hey, what's this about? You know, what's going on when it says that there were giants? And I ran into people that just didn't know. And I started figuring that out based on people's reactions. You know, people were uncomfortable talking about the subject. People just had no information to give. And instead of just being honest and saying, you know what, I don't really know a lot about that, I haven't looked into it, they would just start talking until they feel like they've said something. And they didn't say anything at all, which encouraged me to go find resources, to go seek information on subjects, for example, like the Titans or the giants. And I also want to make this kind of clear, because we get kind of confused when we say the word giant. I feel like we've been conditioned, when we hear the word giant, we're conditioned to think of, you know, somebody who's about 8 feet tall to like 13 feet tall. Like, oh, that's a giant. Especially in the religious world, you know, the most popular giant was Goliath, when David fights Goliath. And we're pretty much taught that he was, you know, about 13 or 14 feet tall or whatnot. That's not really that giant. So the more I started looking into this, the more all these different puzzle pieces added up, and I started to realize, wait a minute, most of what I've been taught throughout my entire schooling years is backwards from how it really is. I was taught that human beings have been growing, and that we used to be smaller and smaller and smaller the further back in time we go, which now seems ridiculous to me. Now that I've read all of these various ancient scripts, manuscripts and writings, and, you know, religious writings and holy writings and historical records, I see plenty of evidence that indicates not only were we as mankind bigger and stronger and smarter and faster the further back in time we go, but that means in turn those beings that were known as giants were that much bigger. And even bigger than that, their forefathers that we call the Titans.
Yes, absolutely. You were sending me some stuff earlier about how, I mean, let's talk about the trees for a minute, right? A lot of people in the chat should be familiar with the no forests on flat earth thing, which I wholeheartedly believe now. It took a while at first, and also it's kind of still hard to talk about because it sounds nutty to the average person who ain't even on board with flat earth yet. So for me, it's more of like if you're already, you know, on board with this stuff, then we can delve into all these other things. But trees used to be gigantic, and they used to reach, you know, higher than we can ever imagine. So to imagine a person compared to that tree, trees are bigger than us now. You know, on average, trees are bigger than humans. So imagine really, 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 really big trees, and also really, 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 really big people. But those people aren't as big as the trees, of course. So I don't know, man. It just, you guys got to see no force on flat earth. And how many times bigger did they say the people used to be? 1,000 times?
Well,
I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, you had some interesting stuff on that.
There's a lot of people in various truther communities, whether they be the religious community or the flat earth community, or even the ancient alien communities. Many of these communities all quote all of the time the book of Enoch, right?